with your host, Semantics King Jr.
Hello, folks. Welcome to the Africa Desk Live. My name is Semantics King Jr., and I'd like to welcome each and every one of you from around Africa and across the diaspora here. It doesn't matter which country you live in, from the heart of the continent of Africa, wherever the sun shines on the West African spirit, welcome to the Africa Live. Today, we intend to bridge the gap between those living the dream in Africa and those carrying the torch in the diaspora. We are one people, we are one voice, and today we have a seat at the table to discuss. This is your show. This is going to be a program. There is no intention to leave any country outside. Maybe even forget about them. We have over 54. We have 54 countries rather on the continent of Africa, and imagine how many African immigrants live in Europe, in North America, um, and other parts of the world. They contribute significant amount of money through remittances to Africa. But do they have a say in decision making in Africa? What is happening? Well, this show is going to be discussing everything and anything Africa, whether you're from Monrovia in Liberia or Lagos, Nigeria, or Cairo in Egypt. We will be discussing topics and issues affecting the African continent and Africans living around the world. The question then is, but why now semantics? Well, I'll get to that a little bit, but before talking about why now, I think it'll be important for my audience to get to know who I am. And so, while I have a lineup of many topics to discuss coming up in the subsequent weeks, I thought it was important for me to introduce myself to you all. My journey actually started in a city in Liberia called Habel. So I started a show on a radio station called Stool FM, and then became a refugee in Accra, Ghana at Bunburam. And while at Bunburam, I and a friend of mine, whom I will be dedicating a show to during the course of the program, not today, we discovered that Liberian refugees did not have a voice in the refugee camp in Ghana. So we established rather an 8-page human rights refugee newspaper that would advocate for the rights of refugees. And then from Ghana to the United States, and everything else is history. But all along my journey, something else kept reminding me of where I'm from and what that means for my legacy. And so, just like the draft was there in Habel, advocating for human rights, as well as in Bujumbura camp, advocating for the rights of refugees, and here in the United States, the question then comes, why have a show now, semantics? In fact, why call it the Africa Desk? Well, this is your desk. This is a desk that anyone can join, and we discuss everything and anything African. Well, maybe that might be very broadly, but the focus is going to be on key issues, accountability, politics, technology, healthcare, those kinds of things will be discussed on this show. And so today, I'd like to welcome you to this show. Wherever you're joining us, you can, put in your comments and let us know where you are joining us from. And maybe you can even share the show with your friends and relatives and help them watch the show. If you do not have a chance to actually join us live in watching the show today, you have a chance to watch the recording on our various platforms. So this live show is going to be broadcast every Saturday at 10 a.m. Minneapolis time, which is going to be Depending on where in West Africa you live, it's going to be probably 4 o'clock your time or 5 o'clock. For those on the east coast of Africa, probably it's going to be around 7 o'clock p.m. But we think that's an ideal time to sit and relax and listen to discussions about Africa. So it's going to be live on Facebook. It's going to also be live on YouTube. And we are working towards making sure this is also going to be live on Instagram, because we just established this about probably a week or two ago. We are just beginning to build our audience. So there are certain restrictions we have to go by, for which we cannot go live, especially on Instagram, because of the new guidelines that have been put in place there. But for YouTube, we are live on YouTube. We're also live on Facebook. And so let us know where you are joining us from, and let us know what topics you might like to see discussed coming up in the subsequent weeks. Every Saturday, after doing your hard work during the week, on Saturday is a day to do some cleanup, do some relaxing. You can be cleaning your home, doing some cooking while you watch us and listen to us. And we also want your input. What do you think? You know, in addition to the live talk show here, we also are having a test broadcast on an internet radio station that is live right now. When you go to my Facebook page, you will see the link how you can join that and listen to the music. It's purely African music right now. We're just doing some testing. We do not have a line of a programming right now because we're still doing some testing to see how wide this broadcast can go, because this show is for Africans, whether you are in Australia, whether you are in Japan, whether you are in Toronto or Winnipeg. Hi, all my friends and brothers in Winnipeg, or in Minneapolis or Washington, D.C., or even in London. This is your show. We would like to welcome you to the show. Because it's going to be a 1 hour show, it's going to be packed with lots and lots of things to discuss. There will be time for you to call in if you want to call in and provide your input. If you feel that maybe commenting through the chat might not be more impactful and you like to call in the show, you can let me know, and my team and I can send you a link, and then you can join us live to contribute. So this is going to be your show. I want you to be aware of that. Now, the question then is, why Africa Desk? Why now? Take a step back and think about Africa. The Africa Desk is going to exist to hold power accountable to the African people. It is going to be delivering credentialed, evidence based, and courageously honest political analysis across all 54 African nations and the global African diaspora living anywhere around the world. This is going to be live, like I mentioned. It's going to be accessible to you, and it's also going to be community driven. You know, there are elements we're going to be unpacking through different shows as the weeks and months unfold. Accountability. We are going to be able to challenge African governments, African institutions, even African power structures on behalf of African citizens living abroad and living in Africa. Transparency. We're going to be bringing clarity to complex governance and economic and geopolitical issues to the table for us to discuss. We're going to have civic engagement, activating African citizens and diaspora communities as informed participants in democracy. Credential commentary. So, grounding every analysis in journalism ethics, in academic governance expertise, and professional precision. We are not going, it's not going to be a monologue, where I just sit behind this thing and be talking to you and be yapping about things about myself or about what I'm doing. No, this is not the show for that. It's purely for serious discussions where we're going to be having a guest in studio live, maybe even two, discussing things about Africa. Another element is going to be Pan African reach. serving all 54 nations in the diaspora from Accra to Atlanta to Nairobi, New York, Monrovia to Minneapolis. It is going to be a super important show. The show envisions a pan African public sphere where every African citizen, regardless of geography, displacement, or political marginalization, will have access to fearless, intellectually rigorous, and humanizing political discourse that empowers them to demand better governance, stronger institutions, and a more just continent. You can unpack all of that through the various discussions we're going to be having on this show. So this is where truth is going to meet power. We're going to hold officials accountable in what they say. As a former journalist, the standards still remain for me. But as a project manager as well, there are elements and standards and frameworks in project management we're going to be introducing and using on the show. For instance, for every project you manage, you have a scope of work to do. You have risk log, and I'm going to be explaining all of this during the show. How it is the Africa risk log doing? Risk log, RISK. You know, what is that looking like? What are the assumptions we're having about Africa? You know, where is the scope of work that is happening for each African nation and its people? Or the development work that is going on. For instance, look at how much foreign aid has been pouring into Africa for all these years from international agencies like the USAID to different other organizations around the world. Every single day, there is aid being poured into Africa. Every time. But what results do we have? What is the impact? Why is Africa always depending on aid when Africa has the youngest population in the world, actually? And by 2030, based on statistics, Africa going to be a powerhouse in the world. But yet and still, we keep depending on handouts, on foreign aid. What is going on with us? Why is it that we always are showing our hand out to ask for arms, to ask for support, to ask for help? These are the things we're going to be discussing on the show. You know, how does your work on the continent of Africa or even here in the diaspora, how does that work impact the African diaspora or vice versa? What is the biggest challenge or opportunity you see for Africans in the sector where you work this year, even? You know, we hear the grand theories and policy. What is the boots on the ground reality right now? I know these are difficult times um, in the world with the war currently ongoing in Iran, which is something that is impacting African citizens. Everyone in the continent is being affected, not just those in the diaspora. But think about that for a moment. How can we better integrate African expertise into global systems? When people look back at Africa in 2026, what story do you want them to tell? What do you want them to remember in 2026 about the impact that policies and aid and support has had on African citizens on the continent? So, this is going to be the show. Coming up, however, for the first few weeks, I decided to dedicate the show primarily to the audience for the audience to get to know who I am. Because if you don't know me, you wouldn't want to listen to me, right? So coming up next Saturday, um, I am going to go back to my root at Stone FM 105 in Liberia. I'm going to be inviting a guest on the show to start discussing issues, in Liberia, for instance, the evolution of Liberian media since we left Habia, since we left Liberia. How has that been? How is it going? Then it takes me back to my home, what we used to do and what is happening there now. I feel this is important because it's going to be able to validate my history as a pioneer. People say, oh, refugees. I'm going to be defining those in the subsequent week. In week 2, I am going to be having a voice, from Ghana. I intended to have invited my co-founder of the human rights newspaper we founded, called the Vision newspaper at the time, but he's no longer alive. May his soul rest in peace. The late Judge Ganyo Cephas was my co-founder for the Vision newspaper. He sadly passed, I think, last year or the year before that in Liberia, and may his soul rest in peace. So, in his stead, I will be inviting someone else who is very familiar with the job that we did on a refugee camp. He's going to be appearing as a guest on the show. This is all still dealing with what I call legacy segments, because why? This is who I am. And then in week 3, we're going to be inviting um, either a guest from the World Press Institute. This is an institution actually that brought me over to the United States in 2006. I was among a, a few brilliant selected journalists around the world that came to the United States on a journalism fellowship. So I will be inviting someone either from the World Press Institute, who they and I were on the program, or an official from ECOWAS, the Economic Community of West African States. Why this is important, you might ask? Well, this is going to be helping us to move from the personal, which is my individual experience, to the professional. Because why? I live both in Liberia and I live in Ghana. So it presents a unique qualifier for me to talk about regional integration on the part of ECOWAS in the absence of someone from the World Press Institute. We're going to be discussing that. And this is going to be really important for all of us because as we discuss the issues affecting Africa and the African diaspora, it is critical for us to reflect on who we are. And we never ever want to forget who we are and where we came from. It doesn't matter. Where we live now, it's very important. And so let me hear from you. Put in the chat what is on your mind. What are you thinking? What topics would you like to see? And then after the legacy month, I'm going to be dealing with different topics now, inviting people from different institutions across the world that either have African interests at heart or working for African institutions or African governments, from governments in, say, Somalia to Nigeria to Cameroon to Egypt. And just to be very clear here, the show is being presented in English, but we know that Africa has many languages. So this show will also be presented after the lab broadcast in other African languages that we are able to transcribe these into right now. It's going to be in French, it's going to be in Portuguese, it's going to be in Spanish, and for other African languages that we don't have in the lineup right now, we're working towards including those as well, so that if you cannot speak English, you can listen to the show in French. It's going to be the same thing. If you cannot speak French, you can listen to it in Spanish. If you cannot speak Spanish, you can listen to it in Portuguese, because we have a sizable number of Portuguese-speaking Africans on the African continent as well. So we want to be able to serve every region of Africa. And our guests that will be appearing on the show will come from West Africa, will come from East Africa, Central Africa, Southern Africa, and North Africa. Because why? When we say this is the show for Africa, we do not want to leave anyone behind. Not at all. Not one group, not one region, everyone will be represented. And it is very critical that we involve everyone because this is where sometimes people feel that they don't matter when you leave them behind, when you do not seek their input, when you do not, um, you know, when you do not want to hear from them or see them. It is important that we invite everybody. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for your comments. Please don't forget to let me know. Thank you so much. Um, thank you, Mr. Aiku. Thank you so much. Thank you. I'm going to just go through the comments a little bit because while I was talking, I realized that I wasn't taking a look at the comments. Thank you so much. Thanks everyone for the comments. Thank you. It's your show. It is your show. We I like that, Mr. Aiku. Yeah, evoking the spirit of a sleeping giant. Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Thank you. I'm doing great. Thank you, sir. Thank you. I'm doing great. So yeah, this is your show, like I was saying. So it is going to be a show that you can appear on. You don't have to be a journalist, okay? You don't have to be a project manager. You don't have to even um, know have any idea of how these things work, right? You will be invited because why? You matter. You, my friend, my sisters, my brothers, my uncles, my aunties, all across Africa. Each and every one of you matter. You know, in certain circumstances, people feel that certain group of people don't matter because why? Oh, they're not educated. Oh, they're not exposed. Oh, they don't speak good English. That is not the show. This show is for everyone, anyone. As long as you have an opinion, as long as you have something that is going to make a difference on the continent of Africa and make a difference on Africans living across the world, this is your show. You will be invited to the show. I'll send you a link where you can come and join, and then talk about Africa. But today, I just wanted you to know that this is me. You know, I come to you with my flaws, but I have a passion that started long time ago in West Africa, in Liberia, in Ghana, and then here with so many things happening across the continent of Africa right now. You know, you see the Western nations, you know, United States, China, um, Russia. Why are they having interest in not Liberia, in Africa? You know why? Look, you go to Burkina Faso. You know, you go to Nigeria. You go to you know, Eritrea, Ethiopia, Senegal, Guinea. Why is there so much investment coming from foreign governments? Why? What is going on? What do they want? If they want something, what do we get in return? Because we have resources. Africa is so rich, you know, with lots and lots of resources, not just mineral resources, but human resource. We have the youngest population on the planet right now. It's projected that that population is going to increase, you know, over the years. So that is what we have. And when you go on the Africa Desk Live Facebook page, which is separate from my individual page, you will see lots of questions I've been raising through my various posting I've been doing. I've been asking lots of questions, you know, and please feel free to take part in the discussions over there. You know, like today, right now, for the 2 minutes ago, we said Infrastructure is growing across Africa, but is it benefiting the people? Seriously, is infrastructure development benefiting people? If there is any, let us know in the chat, in the comments, what projects have made real impact in people's lives in Africa, whether that is in Nigeria, whether that is in Kenya, where I heard that um, I read that China is involved in a lot of infrastructure development there. How is that impacting people positively? You know, how is that? So we want to be able to let people chime in. And then a few hours ago we said what the African youth are not lazy. There is always the stigma that African youth are lazy. They just sit around, especially for our African youth that are currently on the continent of Africa. There is a perception that they just call us here overseas and asking for handout, asking for help, and people assume they're lazy. Well, they are underserved. They're not lazy. What opportunities should be created for them immediately so they can stop asking for handout, so they can stop calling you for money, so they can stop reaching out, and sometimes even so they can stop engaging themselves in questionable activities. They're not lazy. Okay, charming. Let's talk about accountability. Without accountability, there is no progress. How should we hold African leaders accountable? Yes, let us know so that we can use that to invite some of them to the show. How should we hold them accountable if they're not performing? How? As a project manager, and when you look at Africa using the lenses of a project, you ask yourself: is the Africa project on track? Is it on schedule? Is it behind schedule? Is it within scope? Is it out of scope? What risks are there? How can we mitigate the risks of the African project as a continent? Why is it that there is no clear cut currency for Africa as a whole? The European Union has one currency that can be used in any European country. In Africa, we have the Naira. We have this Naira is from Nigeria. We have the cedi from Ghana, and then we have the Liberian dollar from Liberia. We have the Kenyan shillings, and we have what South African rand. So why is it that we have all of this integration and division, and still we say we want to be United Africa? Seriously, why? There's no singular currency. In fact, why do I need a visa to leave from Liberia to go to Egypt, or to leave from Liberia to go to Kenya or Nigeria? Or why? Why is it that there's a requirement for visas? Seriously, why? So this is the platform where we're going to be discussing these things. And please feel free to let me know what you think about it. I'm going to be checking my comments as well. you know, um, Feel free to chime in with your comments, even ask questions if you have, so that we can showcase these or let the world knows who is asking questions, who is making comments. And as we approach the half hour, I'm going to take a brief break, and then I'll be right back. I'm not going away. I'm just going to be I'm just going to be playing you something that I think is good for us, as a nation. I mean, as a continent. You know.
The intricate weaving of disparate voices into a singular, harmonious existence, exploring how individual differences create a stronger collective. A woven tapestry of resonance, yeah.
Absolutely. Welcome back to the show. Thank you for staying with us. Please let us know where you are joining us from, which city you in, which country you in, Let us know. And so this is your show, like I mentioned. It's 10:30. In 30 minutes, I will be wrapping this thing up and then I'll let you go. But don't forget to join us. And please don't forget to share the show. Um, Facebook, YouTube, live every Saturday, 10 a.m. Minneapolis, Winnipeg time. Okay. 4 or 5 p.m. or 6 or 7 p.m. In parts of West Africa and North Africa. It might be probably 8 or 9. And in Europe, Europe and Africa, West Africa in particular, I believe, on the same time zone. So if it is probably 4 or 5 in Monrovia or Nigeria, it's probably 7 or 8 p.m. in Europe, in France, And if you're in Australia, I know it might be late hours over there or early morning, but don't worry. This is a show that um, is going to be recorded, and you will be able to have access to it because what? It's your show. It's nobody else's show. So, like I mentioned, coming up in in the coming weeks, we are going to be inviting people to talk on the show about Africa. We are going to be having discussions. It just started, so the momentum may not be there right now because we just started, but we believe that um, like a popular Asian saying, if a journey of 1,000 miles start with one step, and today we start down one step. Okay, so we are going to be discussing the issues that are affecting Africans in Africa and then across the world. And someone might say, "Why should I listen to you?" Well, here is what I think might be important for you to listen to me, and I respect your opinion on that. I bring credibility. I see that as a responsibility because if you have credibility, people look at you as being responsible. If you do not have credibility, it kind of questions, the assumption that anyone should just listen to you. Like I mentioned from the onset of the show, um, I was involved in frontline journalism. Okay, from Stone FM in Habel to becoming a WordPress Institute fellow at the WordPress Institute here in Minneapolis, and then being a refugee journalist at the time when we had a refugee newspaper. Arguably, it was the only refugee newspaper at the time. I stand to be corrected on that, but I do not think there was any other newspaper in 2000, 2001, two all the way to six, where refugees had their own newspaper. We had ours. We um, produced the newspaper free of charge, distributed that to refugees in the refugee camp in Ghana, and distributed copies to various embassies accredited near the Ghanaian capital, Accra, free of charge. Why? Because we were using that as the voice for refugees living in Ghana. So I come to you with that credibility. Beyond that, came to the United States, went to school and got 2 undergraduate degrees, and then went back at the Humphrey School of Public Affairs to get my master's in public affairs. That's a graduate governing training that I bring to the table to discuss with you. In addition to that, I have several technical professional certifications, all geared towards being a better person, a better uh, uh, African servant or African citizen, right? Um, I have the PMP, which is the Project Management Professional Certifications, which help me to manage projects and programs across various industries. And then I have the CISM, Certified Information System Auditor, that we deal strictly with technology. The same with Certified Information System Manager, dealing with the cybersecurity issues, and not to digress a little bit, but look at Africa. Look at the amount of infrastructure we have, the banks, the governments. What systems are in place to protect all the infrastructure, to protect African governments from cyber attack, from different attacks? And in addition to that, there are lots and lots of other certifications that I have. And then adding on top of that is an MBA, which is a Master's in Business Administration that is wrapping up at the moment as I speak to you. So these are credentials that I bring to the table to discuss business with you, discuss technology with you, discuss infrastructure, journalism, everything citizen, everything that a citizen is concerned about, an African citizen is concerned about. You know, I don't view these as personal achievement to showcase to you. It is a commitment to you, the audience, that every claim, every analysis, every argument that we're going to be made that's going to be made on the show will meet high standards of intellectual and ethical rigor. You are not going to come on the show and make a claim, a wild claim without any evidence. I'm going to hold you to that. That's why this platform is about. Okay. It is a platform that is going to reject the fragmentation of Africa by nation, by language, by colonial boundary. Every episode is every episode going to have on the show is going to speak to the whole of Africa and its diaspora as one interconnected people with shared interests and collective future. So that's what I bring to the table for you. That's what I bring for you to view me as someone you can talk to, someone you can listen to. That's what I bring to the table. So um, I, it's it's going well. Let me know as far as I'm concerned because this is my first broadcast. I do not have any technical issues at the moment, and I see. Great to see you, sir. Okay, well, I'm gonna showcase that here for you. Okay. Yeah, absolutely. It's been a long time, a very long time. When I got to meet Alan. Alan was a young man at the time in Cote d'Ivoire. I passed through Cote d'Ivoire, to come to go to Ghana and then eventually to the United States. Very brilliant young man. These are the young people Liberia needs. And we're going to be talking. I do not want to isolate Liberia because I'm from Liberia because I'm Liberian because this is an African talk show. It's not a Liberian talk show. If you want to specifically listen to a Liberian talk show, there are many out there you can go to and listen to those. But this specifically is for Africa, and Liberia happens to be a part of Africa. So, you know, um, absolutely, my brother. Yes, absolutely. So let me know. What do you think? What topics do you want us to discuss? Drop them in the chat. Okay. I'm going to put these on the calendar for the coming weeks. What topics you want us to discuss? What issues that are burning issues for you? How can we make Africa better? And so, like I mentioned to you at the onset, this week, this month is purely going to be a a legacy uh, a legacy segment for me because I'm home right now. I'm home. Okay, talking about my career starting from home in Habel, where I was born, but um, and then to being a refugee in week two. I'm going to be checking the refugee because why? The world uses the word refugee so many different ways to describe someone seeking safety. But after Bujumbura in Ghana, I redefined it as an individual because I believe that a refugee is a global pioneer. It is someone who has the courage to leave everything behind, the resilience to build a future from zero. Many of you in the audience who are listening to me, who are watching me, you can attest to that. If you've ever had to start all over, if you ever have to start all over, you aren't just surviving, you are pioneering. So yes, people may view you as a refugee or something, but so that's week two. And that is what we're going to be talking in week two. I'm going to be discussing that, you know. And many of you have had to leave your home for whatever reason, and then you go and start all over. It's very, very challenging to start all over. Very difficult. I can attest to it. Starting all over in Ghana, huge. Starting all over here in the United States, huge. And then I live in Canada as well. I had to start all over in Canada. So that, for me, is pioneering. It is strictly pioneering. It's nothing that you should view yourself as just a refugee who is, looking for arms, looking for handout, and that is critical. It's very, very important for us to realize that no matter the circumstances under which you left your country, thank you, brother. Thank you. Thank you so much, brother. Appreciate that. No matter the circumstances you left your home country to be in the United States or in Canada or in Japan or in Australia, wherever you found yourself in, I want you to know that don't limit yourself, to not limit yourself. I didn't. I didn't view that as a way to help Africa. I didn't view myself that way. So please don't view yourself that way. Okay. And as I reach almost 10:42 here in Minneapolis, I'm going to be taking one more break and just play a brief video for you, just something to make you think that on the show we can play music. If you have lovely African songs, in any African language, you can send those to us. Go to my page. There's a contact. My WhatsApp number is on the page on the Africa Desk Live page. When you go there, you see our email address. You see our WhatsApp number. You see our direct line as well for you to reach us, and leave us a message. Give us any African song you'd like us to play on the show, any African music. Again, this is going to be a talk show, but it's going to be interspersed with high level discussions and breaks in between to just, maybe for 30 seconds or 1 minute, play something. So I'm going to play one for you right now as I go take another brief little break.
Echoes from the dunes of time, a million stories in our stride. We rise as one, a single heartbeat strong, where every voice belongs. A golden sun upon our face, united by this time and place. Our legacy will shine.
Thank you, and welcome back. Thank you so much, and please let us know where you watching us from. Are you in which African city you're watching us from? Which African country you're watching us from? How is it there in your country? How are things economically speaking, politically speaking? What topics you want us to talk on the show? Again, this is your show. We want this show to be the best it can be, and without you is nothing. So we need your input, we need your recommendations, we need your suggestions, we need your recommendation, especially as it relates to the guests that will be appearing on the show. If you know of anyone that would add value to the continent, if you know of an individual, an institution, organization that you think is serving Africans in Africa or Africans in the diaspora, let us know who they are, and we will be able to reach out to them so that we can invite them to the show, so they tell us how things they do for Africa are impacting Africans either negatively or positively. So please feel free to reach out to us and let us know. I'm going to go back to what I was talking about in terms of my legacy segment, which is going to be this whole month. This entire April is Legacy Month. In week two, we talk about how we're going to be talking about my other home in West Africa, in Ghana, as a refugee. After that, the third week rather, we're going to be talking about integration. Okay, integration. We're going to be talking about that. That's going to be the week for integration. Week three. In policy, we talk about integration as a blending into a new culture, right? Yeah, that's integration. Even the UNHCR use the term a lot. You know, they resettle you to a third country of asylum as a refugee, and then you have to integrate into the local society, right? It's a term that have been used so many times by many governments, UN agencies, and things like that. But the real integration isn't about losing yourself. I just want you to understand that it's about synthesis, okay? Bringing things together. It's not about losing yourself. It's about taking for instance, in my case, it's about taking my master's in public affairs and my PMP certification and mixing that up with the African spirit of community. That's integration for me. That is integration. You know, synthesis creates something stronger than the original parts. You know, so let's stop blending in and start standing out. You know, and say, oh, I don't want to sound this way because they want to view me in that. I mean, sound the way you can sound. That's who you are. You unique. You don't have to pretend to be someone who you're not. Be unique. Sound the way you want to sound. That is integration for me. Okay. I am who I am. I cannot change that. God made me the way I am. I cannot change that. If you think you can change the way God made you, you are liberty to do that. But for me, integration is not just about blending into a new culture. Are there things to learn with a new culture? Absolutely. You know, you pick up a few things here and there and say, okay, I want to be able to understand this and you know, be into the culture where I'm currently living. For instance, because I spent some years in Canada, I always like to go back to Canada and talk a little bit. Canada is a multicultural, it's a multicultural country. You know, it's a great country that has different people from different backgrounds and lots of Africans and not European, Africans and Caribbean um, Africans, I should call them, you know, European, Caribbean black. Let me say that. Okay, they are not African technically, but they're black, right? So a lot of them live in Canada, and they they remain who they are. They present themselves as what? For instance, you have a huge Indian community there. These are Indians, right? That's who they are. You have a huge Nigerian community there. That's who they are. You have a huge Jamaican community there. That is who they are. And they present themselves as that. They are not um, blending into a new culture that make them to forget or let go of who they are. No. All the experiences they've had to bring us together and make them who they are. And then the final week of the legacy segment is going to be checking in about legacy itself. All right, we think legacy is what we leave behind, right? When we are gone. So, oh yeah, what's going to be my legacy after I'm dead and gone? What's going to be my legacy? But legacy is actually what you build while you are here. That's your legacy. Why are you right here? What are you building? What impact are you having on someone's life? What difference are you making in someone's life? Is it all about you and you and you yourself? That's it all? Me and me and me. We live in a society that promotes that. Me, I, myself. But is that your legacy? Well, if that is your legacy and that's what you're building here, so be it. But for me, from the 8-page newspaper we founded in Ghana to the digital desk that I'm sitting right here sharing with you, my legacy is to bridge. My legacy is the bridge that I'm going to be building for the president that's going to be coming behind me. Whether that's going to be you or your child or your daughter, that's my legacy. I ask you this question: what bridge are you building this week? What difference are you making this week in someone's life? Seriously, no, seriously, think about it. What bridge? What difference are you making in someone's life? You know, what difference are you making? Absolutely, you know. So think about that for a moment and let us know, are you making a legacy after you're gone, or are you building something now so that it's going to be remembered after you're all gone? You know, absolutely. So, again, welcome to the show, the Africa Desk Live. It's your platform, it's for you. If possible, even invite your children if they're not playing video games or they're not um, involved in any extracurricular activities. Bring them to the show. As you listen to me and you watch, tell them, say, hey, you see that guy over there? He's an African brother. You know, um, he's talking about Africa, and even though you were born here, your lineage is African. So don't forget about that. Educate them. Let them know about that. If you have a way or means to even take them to Africa, let them go see Africa. There are historic sites in Egypt, that he can go see, in Ethiopia, that he can go see, in Ghana, for instance. Historical areas you can take your kids to for them to go see, so they remember where you're from, so they know, you know, where you're coming from. Remember that. And always think about that, my dear. If there is nothing else you're going to take from my legacy segment today, talking about me and the show, this is the thing I want you to remember: that Africa does not need outsiders to fix Africa. It needs you. Yes, you and me. It needs your children. It needs your sisters, your brothers. It needs all of us. If we wait and be thinking, oh, someone else is going to take that, it's not going to be built by someone else. It's not. Africa will be built by us, by Africans, not by outsiders. You know, you can go anywhere in this world, even here. Some people call it the last bus stop. Yeah, I don't know why they call it the last bus stop, but even here at the last bus stop, or in Canada, some of the greatest countries in the world anyway, even at those levels, you still miss something. You can be doing well here, and there's still something in you that make you think you miss something. There's something you're missing about Africa. There's something missing about Ghana. There's something missing about Nigeria, Liberia, Kenya, Egypt. Is it difficult on the continent of Africa right now? Yes, it is difficult. But why? Because our leaders do not have systems in place to make life better for the people of Africa. So life is difficult. Our leaders, no systems. And I think I posted that on my live show, not live show, on one of my postings. You know, it requires all of us. One of the things I mentioned was that politics in Africa affects everything. It affects the economy, affects jobs, affects stability. So then the question: should young people be involved in politics? You got all these old men in some African countries. I wouldn't call name, but you have a president who is at 80 years old. 80 years old. What ideas do you have that you're going to bring to the table for young people? What ideas? 80 years old. It's time to leave the stage while it's still, hot, to young people, and get them involved in politics. Get them involved. They have ideas. You know, they have brilliant ideas they can bring to the table to talk about Africa and what can make Africa better. It's not someone who is in the 80s or 70s or 85 or 90s. I mean, they're still living, but technically, do they have any new ideas to make a difference on the continent? I doubt it, you know, seriously. And another thing I posted up, why does Africa export raw materials and import finished goods? Why? You know, this is where the real loss happens. We need to industrialize faster for our people, for the continent, you know. So obviously, this is the show, and I just wanted to take the time to introduce myself to you today. We have 4 minutes to go, and I appreciate you being on the show. If you have never done it already, please share the show with your friends, you know, with your relatives, with your co-workers. It doesn't matter whether they're from Jamaica, you know, whether they're from Timbuktu. Just share the show with them as long as they're African who are living here, or as long as they're African who are living in Africa. Please share the show with them and invite them next time, next Saturday, as we join my guest, who's going to be talking about our experiences in Africa, starting from Habel to Ghana, and then to the United States. And then after that, we're going to be delving into, because by then, the legacy segment would have been completed. You would have gotten to know me by then and know who I have worked with, you know, who have done things together with me, and, you know, perhaps who I have been in class with, you know. And then you say, okay, now I know who semantics is, you know. And so when we are talking, feel free to reach out to me. Let me know what is working, what is not working well. Yeah. This is your platform. Again, like I said, feel free to constructively criticize and let me know. Hey, Semantics, I don't like the way you talk about it. Oh, you should have done that. You should have. Let me know. At my jobs, my home, I open myself up for feedback anytime, anywhere. So please feel free to reach out and let me know. Again, we are on Facebook, we are on YouTube, we are also on Instagram, but we are not live on Instagram because uh, there are certain requirements we need to read before we can be live on Instagram. So please feel free to do that and reach out to us via WhatsApp. Our WhatsApp number is there, through email, or even call us, you know. And then, you know, you can call us, and you know, yeah, great point there, brother, great point there. I'm gonna, you know, great point, you know, seriously, you know, certainly. Why do we keep doing that, you know? Why? So um let us know what you think, and also let us know about topics that we can discuss on the show going forward. After this legacy segment comes to an end, we are going to be delving into real African politics. We're going to talk about technology. We're going to talk about politics. We're going to talk about healthcare. Can you imagine getting sick, say in what example should I take? Say in Ethiopia or Eritrea, or you know, Nigeria or Ghana, and you want to seek medical help. Is it easy for you to get medical help? What is the problem? Why? Why is it that African leaders do not prioritize that? Yet you have ministers of government making thousands of dollars a month, if not millions in naira or Kenyan shillings or South African rand, making a lot of money, but there's no investment in healthcare, in education, in transportation, in infrastructure to make life better for the common people, for the common African. Why? Anyway, I leave you with this today because we are almost at the end of our show, and I want to be respectful of your time. This is going to be the case every time we come on the show, so that you know who we are and what we do. As we close the desk for today, remember, geography may divide us, but our shared destiny unites us. Whether you are in Habel, in London, in Minneapolis, keep building, keep leading, and keep the fire burning. I'm Semantics King, and this has been the Africa Dex Live. See you next Saturday. If I don't have a chance to see you again, maybe during the week, for those of you who we interact with regularly, please reach out anytime. If I don't get a chance to see you this week, then see you next week, Saturday. Okay.